Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now the price of Bitcoin is still testing this significant area of support on the chart, while Ethereum is getting a rejection from this important moving average. And also coming up tomorrow is the next FOMC meeting, also known as a Fed meeting, which I'll talk about later in this video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a quick update on the US stock market. This right here is the NASDAQ 100 index on the daily time frame. And as of right now, the NASDAQ 100 index is retesting this previous golden pocket level of support, which right now is acting as some short-term resistance. And in case you're new to this channel, this golden pocket right here is sitting at roughly around 12,000 in the NASDAQ 100 index. And so technically speaking, this is an important test for the NASDAQ 100 index because as we saw the other day with the Bitcoin price when we retested the golden pockets, due to the fact that the price of Bitcoin could not break back above the golden pocket, and instead we got a rejection from that level that sent us on another short-term leg to the downside. And so it's definitely worth watching the NASDAQ 100 index, especially over the next few days, because if we end up seeing a bit more of a rejection from the golden pocket and come back down and break these local lows right here, which is sitting at around 11.7k, then that would basically be a technical signal on the chart telling us that we're due to see another leg to the downside, even if it's just a shorter term leg to the downside. But it's really that 12,000 level that is the point of control for the NASDAQ 100 index, meaning that if we do actually see a breakback above that level and flip that back into support again, then it is still possible to potentially see a relief rally in the NASDAQ 100 index, which would likely result in a relief rally for crypto, because as of right now, we're still in that retest phase and we haven't actually confirmed a breakback above or a rejection, at least as of right now, but we would likely find out over the next couple of days, potentially after tomorrow's FOMC meeting. And speaking of that FOMC meeting that is set to happen tomorrow, looking at the probabilities for the outcome from that meeting, as of right now, the futures market has fully priced in a 75 basis point hike, and in fact, some of the market is pricing in a possible 100 basis point hike. And if you want to know the exact probabilities for tomorrow's FOMC meeting based on what the futures market is pricing in right now, there's currently an 82% chance that we see a 75 basis point hike tomorrow, and there's an 18% chance that we see a 100 basis point hike tomorrow. So technically there is a small chance that we get a 100 basis point hike, but really the most likely scenario based on what the futures market is pricing in right now is a 75 basis point hike. And so considering the fact that almost everyone is expecting a 75 basis point hike, and a 75 basis point hike has been fully priced into the futures markets, because basically the only ones not expecting a 75 basis point hike are actually pricing in a possible 100 basis point hike. So they're even pricing in further than a 75 basis point hike. And so due to that, if we end up actually seeing a 75 basis point hike tomorrow, then that would actually be the bullish scenario, the bullish out of these two options. And so that would be the scenario where we could potentially experience a relief rally in the stock market and the crypto market if we see a 75 basis point hike at tomorrow's FOMC meeting. But if the Federal Open Market Committee comes out tomorrow and says that they voted for a 100 basis point hike, then that would be very bearish for markets. Because as you can see right here, based on what markets are pricing in right now, there's only currently an 18% probability that we see a 100 basis point hike, which means not many are actually expecting a 100 basis point hike. And so if we do actually see a 100 basis point hike, which by the way means raising the federal funds rate by 1 full percentage point, and so in that scenario, everyone that was over here expecting a 75 basis point hike, which are the majority, would have to immediately adjust on that day, immediately adjust tomorrow to the 100 basis point hike, which essentially means the market, the majority of the market, would have to price in more pain than they previously expected. And so that is why a 75 basis point hike would be considered bullish tomorrow, but a 100 basis point hike wouldn't just be considered bearish, it would be considered very bearish tomorrow. And so once again, the most likely scenario for markets based on the 75 basis point hike outcome would most likely be a shorter term relief rally. But the most likely scenario, if we see a 100 basis point hike, the most likely scenario for markets that is, is, would essentially be a crash. If we do see a 100 basis point hike, I would not be surprised if markets dump on that news. And if you want to stay up to date, make sure you subscribe to this channel with notifications turned on to not miss out on any of my future update videos. And also follow me over on Twitter for real-time updates. The link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. But anyway, getting into the Bitcoin part of this video, this right here is the daily Bitcoin chart. And right now, as of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is currently testing this important range of support, which is coming into play in between around 18,500 and 19,000. And as I've been explaining in my past videos on this channel, obviously based on these previous lows in the price of Bitcoin, we do have a lot of buyers sitting within this price range that are basically waiting to buy up Bitcoin and push up the Bitcoin price when the price enters into this price range. And so due to the fact that we can see time and time again that there's a lot of buyers in this price range right here, that would mean that there's too many sellers right here compared to the amount of buyers. So we've essentially run out of buyers if the price breaks below this price range, which would be a strong bearish signal telling us that we're potentially ready for another leg to the downside if we break below around 18,500 with a significant candle close, such as a daily candle close, for example. But as of right now, at the time of recording this video, obviously, as we can see here, this hasn't happened, at least not yet. But if it does happen, that is a scenario that we need to at least prepare for. And for that, I do have a price target to the downside, which I talked about in my last video. So if you missed that video, definitely check that one out. But anyway, heading into the shorter term, this right here is the 4-hour Bitcoin chart. And as we can see over the last 1 to 2 days, obviously we saw a bounce back to the upside in the price of Bitcoin after the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI entered into oversold territories, which was telling us at that time in the immediate short term, we had somewhat limited room to the downside and we were due to see a reset in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And over the last 1 day, that's pretty much exactly what we've seen, which has now given us some more room to the downside in the shorter term. But overall, in terms of the trend, obviously the price of Bitcoin is currently more bearish than bullish. We have not yet confirmed a bullish reversal, at least not as of right now. But if you're looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin MACD, right now it's showing very low momentum to either direction, because obviously if you're looking at the bullish momentum, this has been declining. But also if you're looking at the bearish momentum in the histogram in particular, this has also been declining in the recent movements. And so just based on that, one of the most likely scenarios for the price of Bitcoin in the shorter term, as in over the next few hours, maybe over the next day, is most likely going to be some choppy sideways price action for the price of Bitcoin, perhaps until that FOMC meeting takes place and we get the next rate hike released, which will likely bring about more volatility. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this right here is the daily Ethereum chart. And right now, the price of ETH is currently testing this important golden pocket level of support. And like I said yesterday, this golden pocket level of support is coming into play at roughly around 1.3K. And so as I said yesterday, it is important for the price of ETH to hold above this support level. Otherwise, if we see something like a daily candle close below 1.3K, then in that scenario, I'll be looking down towards around 120 as the next support level for ETH. And below that Fibonacci level, I'll be looking towards these lows back here, which are sitting at roughly around $1,000 per ETH. And anything below those lows, I'll be looking towards that June low, which is coming into play just underneath 900. So those are all of the significant areas of support that I'll be looking for to the downside if we break below 1.3K, which as of right now obviously hasn't happened, but this is something to at least be aware of. And as for some potential points of resistance, if we actually see a bit more of a bounce from the golden pocket, I would be expecting resistance around here based on this previous support, and that is coming into play at around 1430 to 1450 approximately. But if you're zooming into the shorter term, taking a look at the 4-hour Ethereum chart, this moving average, by the way, is the 3-day moving average, also known as the 72-hour moving average. And basically every single time where the price of ETH has contacted this moving average over the last 1 week, we've ended up seeing a rejection from this moving average. This moving average has acted as resistance and has essentially sent the price of ETH on another short-term leg to the downside the moment we get a rejection from this moving average. And so if history were simply to repeat again like all of these other times, then one of the most likely scenarios for ETH based on this rejection from the 3-day moving average would potentially be a shorter-term downwards movement if history was simply to repeat. And I would only begin to flip a little bit more bullish again for Ethereum in the short term if we start to see a confirmed break back above this moving average, which by the way, this moving average is currently sitting at around 1,380. But as I just said earlier, when it comes time for the FOMC meeting tomorrow, that could heavily affect markets depending on the outcome. And the outcome, whatever it is, whether it's a 75 basis point hike or a 100 basis point hike, would likely overrule any short-term analysis. But either way, whether or not you think the price is going up, down, or just chopping around sideways, you can make money in crypto by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. Because the video in the top left of your screen shows you how to make money if the price is going either up or down, and the video in the bottom left of your screen shows you how to make money if the price is chopping around sideways. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.